Okay, I doubt anybody's actually going to show up, but we'll give it a minute or two before we get started here. We'll start here at the dollar as usual. I doubt anybody's going to show up, but you never know. This is a demo account, so this is not real money here. This is just something I play around with, experiment with. I got a SPY trade on that's been down. I just left it open over the weekend. It's only 0.01 lots, so that's actually down quite a bit. I was using a mean reversion and using Mr. Yen's style, and I just opened one trade and then I got busy with other stuff and I forgot about it. It's just makes it difficult. I can't trade full time yet. I'm getting there. I set aside some money for a rainy day in case I do lose my day gig, and so that I've got a cushion and a backdrop. And I'm going to talk about that here in a second as far as what the dollar's doing. Just seeing if anybody shows up here. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. It's going to be silent for a few seconds. Alright, coffee is, well, water's in the microwave. I drink instant coffee because I try to save money wherever I can, and I found automatic drip coffee is wasteful, and K-cups are wasteful and expensive. So let's go ahead and while the water's heating, zoom in here. This is the weekly chart of the dollar. And you see we've got our first green candle here. Now it's not a big one, and I sat back and wondered, why are we reversing trend here? Or, as you can see throughout this whole downtrend since April, May, where's that? Began here, May 17th. We did have some pullbacks here. So that's what we're experiencing. We're experiencing, as of right now, a pullback. It's not a full-blown reversal. This would be technically a place to reverse here at this resistance level from way back here and here. So it's a multi-year resistance level. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to hold, but we also have our thin blue line is reformed, where when these start bunching up, that's a good indication that a possibility of reversal, that the probabilities go up. That's what a lot of people don't get about technical analysis and trading, is that it's a game of probabilities. That means that you're not always gonna be right. It just means one is more probable than the other. So let me go ahead and finish up making my coffee, and we'll get started here. here. Got my coffee. It's Vanilla International Creamer. I don't have my protein powder in there. Normally on the weekdays for breakfast, I have my coffee with protein powder and peanut butter. Vanilla protein powder. I found the chocolate's a little overpowering. I like the mellower taste of the vanilla. But anyway, back to the dollar. So I had to ask myself, why is this why is this pulling back? You would think with all the dollar printing that was going on, it's a little deeper than just dollar printing. They actually print reserves, and but I don't want to get in deep detail of how the Federal Reserve steals blind from you. I just know that they're stealing from you. But why is this reversing if all this money printing is happening, or supposed to be happening? And I had to search around a little bit, and finally found some experts on Macro Voices talking about it just yesterday. And what is happening is that the Fed is it's actually the Treasury is printing bonds to prepare for this this stimulus package, where they're gonna print the money into oblivion and give us a bunch, give us $1,400 or $2,000 or whatever it is, and bail out small business and what have you from the mess that they created from COVID. And I don't want to get into that either, but I'd gladly debate people on the merits of masks and how it should have operated as opposed to what happened, and how science actually works. But we won't go into that either. I digress. But so the Reserve is they're preparing for it, and so they have to print up all these bonds. And what that is T-bills that we United States citizens pay through taxes. We pay the interest on those bonds. So the majority of the debt is the interest on those bonds. So that's where the majority of our taxes go. You think they go to roads, or my roads and my war or my wall. It doesn't go to any of that. It goes to pay for the debt, and then the banks go up and buy it, whether it's national banks here in the United States or foreign banks. They buy our debt because they know that the United States citizens are suckers, and they'll continue to pay outrageous taxes and interest on loans and whatnot to keep this facade of a fiat currency system going. So they print these bonds out of thin air because they know that they'll continue to be able to steal from our children. And so there's a backup of bonds at the Treasury. So in order for the banks to want to buy them, the return on those bonds starts to rise, and so that's why the demand is starting to increase, and why we see this uptick. I think it's just a pullback. I think eventually it'll go down, and this is what's causing the pause in all the markets, as you'll see. And this is why I follow the Dixie so closely, because it is the world's reserve currency still for now, until people wake up and realize, that the majority of the taxes that we pay go to pay the interest, to pay the banks, that are buying these bonds at auction right now. And so they get a return on that. It's not a lot of return, but when you're that rich, when you're $100 billion rich, $10 billion rich plus, you're not interested in growth so much. You're not interested in looking for the next 200x shitcoin. You're looking at preserving that wealth. And so even a small negative return is better, if it's risk free, where you know that you're going to, maybe just not quite outpace inflation, as opposed to, putting something at high risk to get a 200x. They're not interested in that kind of stuff. They're interested in wealth preservation, not wealth building. Schlepp cars running around, from 100,000 net worth to 0 to a couple million net worth. We're interested in growth, and so we're looking for the next biggest, hottest thing. They're not interested in that, and so they're buying these treasury bills to preserve their wealth, because they know that the majority of the United States are suckers, and they're going to continue to accept shittier wages and accept more taxes, and in exchange for more free stuff. So that's how the whole system works, and basically in a nutshell, and I'll gladly debate anybody about it. So that's why we got this little pullback here, and you're going to see this reflecting in all the markets coming up here shortly. So let's move on to, let's take a little deeper dive in here. Let's go to the daily, and you can see that we do have smaller pullbacks here on the daily since May, and we've had it stall out for weeks before it took off again. This is where it took off again in November. As you can see, where Bitcoin took off right at the beginning of November. Do you think that's a coincidence? So that's why we're stalling, is because of this right here. This week in particular. That's why Bitcoin is stalling. So that's enough of the dollar. You'll see with that explanation that the buildup of treasuries and the banks are buying up our debt, which is our taxes, and then they get money for buying our debt. They make a profit off of our taxes. So if that doesn't piss you off, then you're stupid, and I can't help you. Let's look at Bitcoin. Now, I announced on Twitter that I took profit, and all I did was pull out my capital. I bought in. This is, where did I buy in? Here's this. I should have bought here, but I was scared. But I didn't buy in till, what's this, the daily? Oh, this is the weekly. Where did I buy in? It was down here somewhere. I think it was on this candle. Yeah, I bought this little dip right in here. I saw the 2 green, and then so I came in here and I bought in right about here, around 66, 67, somewhere at the bottom of this candle. And I've been in ever since, and been adding to my position, buying in on dips. And so I got out right here. I just pulled my principal out. What I initially put in, plus all the money that I put in with DCA, and so everything else on top of that was gravy. So now I'm all in gravy here, all on the house money up here. And here's the reason why. Now, I showed on Twitter that we had a lower high on the daily right here. Zoom in a little bit on that. So we had our high here, and then we started confirming a lower high on this candle here. So I got out about here. I just pulled out my equity, what money that I'd put into it. So now everything else is gravy. And the reason I did that, 2 reasons. One, because of this. I saw this and it was like, but I saw this forming earlier in the week, which was a warning signal. Which, let's go back out to the weekly. Oops, that's monthly. Weekly. We have somewhat of a tweezer top here. Now, we do have a lot of buying pressure here. There's a lot of buying pressure here, pushing up. But we had this big drop from the weekend, and then this drop from the weekend. and then this was Monday. We were here Monday. And I was like, that looks like a tweezer top forming. And now that's not to say that that's going to happen, that it's going to be, because this is still a green candle. We didn't, but these are the things, if you reference my videos back when I talked about exits, one of the things I look for is tweezer tops. And this is, it's a little asymmetrical, but it was pretty close to a tweezer top, and it's a descending tweezer top on top of that. So between that and the dollar strengthening, I said that's a good place to at least pull my my capital out. So I went ahead and did it and pulled the, whoops, where are we at? That's dollar. That's what I want, back to Bitcoin. So I saw that tweezer top, because let's pull back here. Let me, this is what I was looking at back here. Yeah, we had an ascending top. Where did I see? There was a tweezer bottom. It was a tweezer bottom, that's right. It was down here. Where was it? Where was that tweezer bottom? There it is. There's a descending tweezer bottom. It was during the coronavirus pandemic in March. And you see, you have the same signature calling for reversal here. You got, but this was still red. Your Heikin Ashi was still red. So, but here you have descending or an ascending shadows of the candle. So that was the area. That was the reason why you got a similar signature at the top here. Much bigger too. Look at the size of that candle. These candles compared to these candles. So I coupled those two things together, and I decided against just pulling my whole position and just pulled out the money that I invested into it. And now I have that off to the side. And I'll put that into an interest-bearing account with Celsius, because they have better interest rates. As I said, the BlockFi, what I liked about BlockFi is that you can trade and you can flip quickly when you need to. And I was trading and flipping a little bit too much in all this mess here, and so now I'm just going to hodl. It's free money, it's house money, I don't care what happens to it. And eventually, as adoption grows, it's going to go up. And we go look at the adoption curve. We put up my crypto. Let's see where the adoption curve is. I believe the adoption curve is going to go parabolic. And that is, let's see if I can get it in. I thought there's where's the golden one? Maybe it was on the daily that I had it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, here's the adoption curve, is this line here. Now it's only up to 6,500. Now I think as we get more adoption, the store of value in Bitcoin is in the lows. It's not the highs. That's just the demand and the speculation. But the actual store of value is in the lows. Whether it's here, here, here. And this, I think, is also going parabolic. So as this line finds its next bottom, this slope of this line is going to start to steepen as it's Gann theory basically, but a little bit more complex. But going parabolic with the adoption, this line will start to tilt upward, like this line and this line. this low here, TL3 low, and this TL3 low here. So if I were to guess, I would say that this probably is more of the adoption curve. As far as the purple is probably more of what the adoption curve is, because it's taking into account this low here still of the coronavirus low. So that's the point where everybody and their brother went in, and all the banks were poo-pooing on Bitcoin when it was way up here, and then when it come down here, this is when the banks bought in, and they said, "Oh, Bitcoin's not so bad." Yeah. So they got everybody buying, and now they got everybody all excited. They're saying Bitcoin's going to 100,000. First of all, don't believe anything the banks tell you. They're not your friends. Same with whales, they are not your friends. Honestly, you should start thinking in terms of the opposite of what they're doing, because what they're telling you and what they're doing is two different things. When I start hearing 100,000, my warning bells start going off in my head. And I try to fight that euphoria and the emotion behind trading. The less emotion that you exhibit, the better trader you become. And when you're feeling fear, that's when you should be buying. And when you're feeling euphoria, that's when you should be selling. And that's the reason why, many reasons why I pulled out my equity and got that set aside, and now it's just house money, so I can take a better risk on it, because it's money that I set aside for that's my rainy day fund. If you've been following me for some time, you know that regardless of what the bad news was with Dave Ramsey, there's a lot of good stuff in that book. I wouldn't go to Dave for investment advice, but for debt advice and insurance advice and tax advice, the guy's spot on. But investment advice, that's all he does is shove money into mutual funds and short the dollar through mutual funds, buying assets through mutual funds, and just blindly, hopefully getting 8 to 12%, and I can get that at BlockFi or Celsius. I can do better than that, because not only do I get that percentage, I don't have fees, and it compounds weekly at Celsius and monthly at BlockFi. So don't see the point in using mutual funds. I don't really like equities in general, so I like currencies and metals, because they are crowd controlled and they're not manipulated like stocks can be, for the most part. And that's the same reason I'm not really big on shit coins either. So, but that's what we're looking at right now for long distance. Let's go back to the weekly, Bitcoin weekly, zoom in. So we don't have a red candle yet, so there's no need to panic, because let me zoom out. Let's show most recent history. It could be something like this happening here. Here we go. Like these two candles here. It's very similar. It's a similar signature. Not exact, but it's a similar signature. So it's not necessarily, we could be here in the cycle as opposed to here in the cycle. So, and remember, each of these candles is weekly, so, and we haven't seen a red one in quite a while, and that might not even necessarily be a bad thing if we're somewhere here in the cycle. There's no real telling, but if we go back to the dollar and zoom out, you can see that the bull markets are always when Bitcoin, the last two cycles, two big cycles that we had. This was started 2016, 2017 to, where is this? In 2018, January 2018, and that's about when the bull market ended. And look at the bear market. Look what the dollar was doing during that whole time, during that bear market. It's going up, generally going up. I mean, we did have these pullbacks, and because it's a mix of different currencies, it's which currency is the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry hamper, is basically what that is, and versus the dollar. So the dollar strengthened during the bear market of Bitcoin, and then we had COVID. This is when we had the big drop. Everything dropped. Look what happened to the dollar. I was in this trade. Long, and then it fucking reversed on me. I thought we were going to go up to like 120, but they started printing right away, and they crashed it right back down. And so now we're here at this point. So as long as this continues, if we can break through this support, we'll continue with the bull market in Bitcoin. But we're experiencing at least a pullback right now. When the money starts hitting the streets and the real economy, when we start getting those stimulus checks, I'm looking at continuation, but we keep an eye on our charts to tell us whether that is true or not. So let's move on to Ethereum. Ethereum's just pretty much the same as Bitcoin. We do have a lot of buy pressure, but we got the same signature here. NASDAQ, same thing. We got a pullback here. You can see everything's pulling back because the dollar's pulling up, so everything else is pulling back against it. Same thing. We got a red candle on the gold, red candle on the silver. Oil, though, oil's the odd man out. It's continuing in a bull market. I guess they got production under control again. Being able to, they can control their output to keep the price where they want it. When they all do a coordinated effort, and that's why they don't like Venezuela, because Venezuela has one of the biggest oil reserves in the world, but they don't want to play the game. They don't want to play the game to make the money. They don't want to. So that's it's another thing I don't want to go too deep into, but I'll gladly argue with anybody about Venezuela and what's happening there. Let's see, ETH, Bitcoin. Let's zoom in here. Don't mind this line. I don't know why I still have that in there, but ETH is starting to its rise up again. It's trying to break the trend, buck the trend. Now, a lot of people, they get super excited because they remember the glory days of yesteryear, back out of when ETH was just crazy going against Bitcoin, just crushing Bitcoin in the markets way over here. And that you got to remember that ETH was like a couple bucks and shot to thousands and thousands of dollars. This time the percentages aren't as pronounced. He's more of an established player, so whether that's going to happen again, that's more than likely going to happen with some of the smaller coins. I would say mid-cap coins that are up and coming, like DOT and Link. If anything's going to happen like that against its Bitcoin pairing, would be something like DOT or Link, and I'll show you that in a little bit. My favorite privacy coins taking a dump. Litecoin's taking a dump, but it's bucking that trend too against. Well, that's against the USD. That's not against Bitcoin yet. Haven't got there yet. XRP's taking a crap, going to become an oscillator. Tesla even is taking a little bit of a dive here against the dollar. So you can see that here's the Litecoin Bitcoin pairing, totally taking a crap. Euro USD, this is basically mimicking, I think it might even be leading Bitcoin as far as like a leading indicator. You can see that it's taking a dump down into that support area that I talked about last week. So we do have some 4H support and then some other support further on down, but that's going to depend upon Dixie more than anything else. I had a dash in here. It's pretty much doing the same thing as everything else. Let's move on to TradingView. Now, I don't know TradingView as well as I do MT4, so I'm still learning things here. And so I picked up on it just a few mid cap and not micros, maybe small cap stuff that I kind of liked. So I'm going to take a look at some of these. Here's DOT, for example. I'm still in my Bitcoin collecting phase, so I wasn't really looking at alts all that much. Had I been at a position where I felt like I was, well, actually, I'm in a position now, finally, where I feel comfortable with my Bitcoin position, and I can move on to put in other positions. As I'm more of a long-term trader, I use the weekly charts and the monthly charts. I don't use, but I keep an eye on the dailies, looking for cues to enter and exit. But I look for trends on the weekly, and well, DOT was on my radar, and I wanted to buy some, and now I didn't get my fill. I was looking to buy around here. I think my buy zone was set, and I got front run. And boom. I mean, like the next day, I was in. This was my buy zone here, right at the tops of these wicks, where resistance became support, and got front run by like 50 cents, and then it took off on me. So I didn't get my fill, which kind of sucked. And then we got Link. I use the daily on these because the weekly charts kind of just, they don't really tell, they haven't been around long enough to. And once again, somebody asked me a couple weeks ago when Link was taking a dive, is it going to go lower? And I said anything below 10 is a good buy. And it never got below 10 again. I think it was like right around here. Everybody was freaking out because I saw this wick here, and I was like, yeah, people are buying at 10, under 10. So I was hoping for another, and it never came. That one took off as well. So I never got that fill either. So these are just some that I've kept an eye on. Here's this one's going to become an oscillator. I heard of something about France maybe putting their central bank coin, their central bank shit coin on Tezos, but I haven't heard anything newsworthy. And I was really big on Tezos when I first got into crypto, but as more and more projects came out, I kind of said, yeah, well, maybe Tezos just doesn't have the marketing that the other coins have, and their staking rewards isn't all that great compared to something like DOT or Cosmos. Or then say with CeFi and the yield farming, it just wasn't getting the returns, even though it's good technology. It's got great technology actually, but nobody seems to want it because people buy on emotion. They don't buy on logic. Let's go look at Wi-Fi. What's this doing? This one's starting to look like, yeah, it's just an ugly chart. It's not really, it's starting to look like an oscillator. So I don't know. With the dollar, I'd like to see this drop lower back down into this area here, and then take a jab at it possibly. It's, anywhere here is a good buy. Someplace that I would look, but you know. But here, this is what I was talking about, the DOT Bitcoin, DOT versus Bitcoin. You can see the big DOT is really taken off versus Bitcoin. So that's definitely a type I wish I would have gotten in on, but I missed my fill. So, que sera, sera. You don't chase it. Don't chase money. You chase money, you lose money. Wait for it to come back to you. So, I'll look for a pullback later on. This is one I've actually held, bought in down here, and did okay with. I'm about ready to take a position off. The key to these altcoin season is being able to, when nobody's paying attention to it, when everybody's paying attention to Bitcoin, and then your Bitcoin position is full and you're good. All right, you start ignoring Bitcoin, just let it run, and start scooping up these alts, when they're down here in bargain prices. And then when they take off, when they get to 2x, you pull your money out. You pulled your initial capital out, and then now the rest is just house money, free ride. And I'm just about ready to pull the plug on this one, and get a free ride on it. So Anchor, let's see, there was quite accumulation down here, and then right here we had distribution here, and then it looks like reaccumulation. So we got big. Let's take a look. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Accumulate. Here we go. So we are moving. If you look at the trend, it's upward slightly, but as of right now it's kind of sloping back down over the past few days, but the overall trend has been up. You got this trend line going right here, so the overall trend has been up. So that's it's looking like a reaccumulation. It's just messy. It's not quiet like over here. I think since Crypto Casey, I think that's when she announced that she was really big into it. Was right back around here, if I remember correctly, and then had that big surge. And I just think that eventually, as the herds show up and they start learning about this kind of stuff, and if the dollar continues to decline, we'll still stay in that bull market. So it's the dollar that's driving the bull market. It's not Bitcoin, and I hope people begin to realize that. Here's VET. Here's another one of my favorites. It's starting to take off. This would have been a good buy in here. This was one that I was watching. You can see the accumulation is really, the slope is upward. So that's looking good. Good call. But I didn't get in this one, unfortunately. This is another one that I missed. Should have got in on. That would have been a nice spike to get in on, but it wasn't. I didn't have any money on it. It was just a chart that I liked. So those are just some of the things that I looked at. So that's your market update. If you have any questions, leave things in the comments. I will gladly answer. And as always, I don't charge for anything. I'm not selling anything. I might throw some links up and ask you to use if you're a newbie and you're a little bit confused. It's, start with Coinbase and then work your way. Either start with Coinbase or BlockFi. Either one of those two are good places to start. And then as you learn and grow more comfortable with the space, then you can expand out. But BlockFi is probably the easiest of all of them to get into, but it's trading there is kind of expensive, so I only trade there if I absolutely have to and flip. And there's a lot of things I learned about BlockFi, and so that's why I started looking at other avenues. But for newbies, it's great. It's easy, simple, 3 coins and a few USD stable coins, and you're good to go until you get more comfortable with the space, and then you can expand out into exchanges and then maybe into DeFi or shitcoins or altcoins or whatever. So I think I'm going to wrap it up there. It's going to take a lot less time than writing this shit out, let me tell you. So I will, hopefully I did this right. I'm not the most computer savvy person in the world, so I will be signing off and talk to you guys in the Twitter comments.